A few days ago, I went to an ATM here in Mexico, and the ATM provider tried to charge me an additional $125 currency exchange fee in addition to the regular $5 usage fee. I simply said, no, thank you, and then I proceeded with my transaction, and they did not charge me that. And then at the end, my bank refunded me the $5 fee. I think a lot of people here don't understand how these fees work and that, in fact, that large one is optional. You can just say no, thank you. So I put together the following training to show you how to never pay the exchange fees and also how to get the usage fee refunded to you. Check it out. I think whenever we use an ATM, we sort of know there's going to be a fee for that, right? Especially if it's an international ATM. Most of the time when we think about the ATM fee, we're thinking about this fee right here. The ATM charged by the owner of the ATM for the privilege of using that ATM, right? For the convenience. So that's charged by the ATM owner, and it's usually around $5. They also have a sneaky fee that they put in there, which is this horrible exchange rate, but that is optional. Let me show you about that on the next screen. If you're out of the country, you can also expect to see an international conversion or interchange fee. That's just one fee, but it's kind of called different things, but it's charged by Visa or MasterCard, whatever your network is. And it's usually about 1% of the transaction. Sometimes you don't see this because it's just baked into the rate, or sometimes it'll be charged to your bank and they may or may not pass it on to you, but it is definitely charged somewhere. The other one is if you're using like a small credit union or kind of a bank that doesn't do a lot of international stuff, they're probably going to also charge you some sort of fee right there. So you can expect to be hit with fees from the owner of the ATM, from the network, and from your bank in some capacity. So let's look what that might look like. I just went to the ATM a few days ago and I went to withdraw 15,000 pesos. You know, Mexico, if you live here, it's a very cash-based economy, so you got to have cash. So I went to withdraw 15,000 pesos. The ATM owner said, okay, that's 15,000 pesos plus a 100 peso fee, which is about $5 for using the ATM. Great. So then I proceed to this screen right here and they say, yeah, hey, if you want, we'll convert it for you. Like, hey, we noticed your account's in dollars. We'll convert it to pesos for you. And then, you don't have to worry about international things. And if you're new to this game, you might be like, oh yeah, that's what we should do because my bank might charge me something if I request pesos and my account is held in dollars, or, whatever your situation might be. You're tempted to say, yeah, go ahead and do that for me. So if I were to have continued with the conversion, they would have sent my bank a bill for $917.21. That's what would have come out of my bank account. But because I live here and I know how it works and I know how this stuff works, I said, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and decline that fee because I know that I will get a better exchange rate if I ask my bank to do the conversion. So sure enough, I continued without the conversion and my bank received the request for 15,100 pesos. That's the 15,000 I wanted plus 100 pesos for the fee for the ATM owner. And they gave me a rate of 0.052. The ATM owner was offering me 0.060. At the end of the day, that was a difference of $125.73. And that is dollars, not pesos. So had I allowed the ATM owner to do that conversion for me, I would have lost $125 to them in this sort of like hidden fee, right? The service they offer to convert it for me is actually a way for them to make money. And, a fee by any other name is still a fee. So had I paid this exchange fee to them, $125, plus the 100 pesos, which by the way ended up being about $5.24, I would have been paying them $125 plus 5, so $130 to withdraw, essentially $700. That's what it should have been. So that's like a horrible exchange rate. And the important thing to know here is this is optional. You can say no, but you have to know that your bank will do the conversion for you. And most big banks will do it for you at a way better rate than you'll get from the ATM owner. And by the way, this $524 was refunded to me because I use a debit card that refunds it to me. So whenever you're withdrawing currency, you get stuck with this screen, no matter where you're at in the world, always say continue without conversion. Your bank will always give you a better rate. And in this case, $125 better. So what is this magic debit card that I use that refunds me? Well, there's a couple that do it. Here's the 3 that I recommend in this order: Betterment, Schwab, Fidelity. Most of them, they're kind of similar. The thing to look at here is the reimbursement time frame. Betterment reimburses me the same day. It hits my statement the next day, but it reimburses in real time. And there's no companion account required. A lot of these, these are investment banks, right? Betterment does investment, Charles Schwab does investments, Fidelity does investments. They kind of want you to use their product for investing, but they give you the checking account as kind of the lead magnet to get you in, right? But with Betterment, you don't have to have any additional account. You can just have the checking account, and that's fine. With Schwab, which is probably the most popular debit card for travelers, what I don't like about them is they don't reimburse you until the end of the statement. So if you do this quite a few times, you could have, I don't know, $50 in there that they owe you that you can't use, So I don't like that they wait till the end of the statement. And the other thing is they require you to have a linked brokerage account. You don't have to use it, but you do have to create a brokerage account, like an investing account and the checking account, to be able to use their debit card. So not a big deal, but it is just a little thing to know. The last one here is Fidelity. They're kind of new to the game. They charged this 1% foreign conversion fee up until like 2 months ago. So, other than this, they're the same as Betterment. I just don't know if they're going to kind of always do that or if that was just like a temporary thing. They haven't really proved themselves to me, so it might be fine for you. So I recommend them in this order. So personally, I use Betterment, and here's what that looks like for me. I have a savings account and a checking account with Betterment. What I do is I keep all my money in my savings account, which is a high yield account, so it pays me like 5% interest. And then when I need my money, I just go in the app and I push it over to my checking account for the exact amount that I'm going to need to withdraw in cash. Then I go to the ATM, I withdraw the money, ATM refunds my fee, they do the conversion for me, and then whatever is left over, I push back into my savings account. And I do that because I'm using this account for like ATM withdrawals at banks and ATMs, there is a little bit of a security risk here. If you follow me, you know that I tell you to use a debit card only for this purpose, and for everything else, use a credit card. So I only keep money in this specific account for ATM withdrawals. And as soon as I withdraw the money, anything that's left over because of a currency fluctuation, I push back into my savings. So if I get hacked or skimmed or someone gets this number, there's no money in there. Like, I'm really limiting my potential loss to someone scamming me. So like I said, I move my money to the checking account right before I use the ATM. After a few days, I move all the money back. It's super easy through their app. And again, worth noting, this is the only time I ever swipe a debit card while traveling. So let's look at some other debit card best practices. So I'm in a lot of travel groups and people always say, well, how do I get local currency? How do I do it? And I've always said, listen, the best way to get the best rate is to just use your international debit card, one of those ones that I recommend, on arrival in the country. That's the best rate you're going to get. Try to use bank-owned ATMs, so they're just less sketchy. There are some bad ATM owners out there that will take advantage of you. But usually the ones that are owned by banks that have the bank logo or that are actually inside of a bank, they kind of take care of their stuff. There's not going to be skimmers on those. They have kind of a reputation to uphold. So I definitely recommend using the bank ATMs. Know your daily withdrawal limit in advance. For some of these, it's like $500 to $1,000, so you should know that before you go. Use a complex PIN. Don't use your birthday. Make something that's good and use that so that it can't be easily guessed. Like I mentioned, what I do, only transfer money into that account right before you're about to use it and then transfer it back out. So that in the event that you do get scammed or someone gets your number, there's no money in there. Add the card to Apple Pay in case it gets stolen or something happens. You can usually still withdraw with Apple Pay. And if you watch my previous videos on using Google Voice, sometimes your ATM will get declined because your bank thinks it's fraud. And they will usually text you or email you. So sometimes mine gets declined, I just wait, and then I get a text and says, hey, was this you? And I say, yes. And they say, okay, sorry, try again. So kind of watch your phone. If you get declined for no reason, kind of make sure you're getting text messages because they might have asked to verify. Last but not least, this is the only time you should use your debit card, and for everything else, there's MasterCard. This is my number one travel commandment. Thou shalt use a credit card everywhere, and these are the reasons why. By using a credit card, the merchant or wherever you're using it does not get direct access to your money. They get direct access to the bank's money. So in the event that there's fraud or something happens, first of all, you're only limited to $50 in fraud. Second, and that's if your bank's like mean to you. Usually they don't give you, my experience has been with my banks, they don't have any fraud. They're like, oh, it happened, here you go. They reimburse me and they go after the fraudster, right? But in the event that they want to be a jerk, it's only up to $50, and that is a law. 1972, I can't remember. That's the law. So you're limited at $50 max. A lot of these credit card companies also have 24/7 card support, especially for travelers, because they don't know where you're at in the world, and you got to be able to call them and get replacements or report the fraud or things like that. If you're using a local credit union or something, they don't got things open after 5 o'clock. It's just not that helpful. Also, some of the bigger banks, for example, Capital One or Chase, they will overnight you a card. If something happens, FedEx Express the next day, wherever you're at in the world, they'll take care of you. Your local credit union, small bank people, they're not going to take care of you in that way. Some of the better cards have travel insurance in case something happens. You got a little bit of, you're kind of limiting your exposure to risk there. And most of the travel cards don't have any foreign exchange fees. So that's when you use the card. You could get charged a 3% fee. Most travel cards don't have that, and they're usually pretty obvious about having that because, they want you to use them. So these are my travel commandments. So I hope that was helpful at breaking down the different ATM fee types and showing you the smart way to travel and live as an expat abroad. In case you still have a little bit of anxiety about using an ATM in Mexico, let me just walk you through it. I recorded myself actually using the ATM, and I'll just walk you through what every single screen means. So you walk up to the ATM, you put your card in, it's going to think about it, and then it's going to ask you for your 4-digit PIN. So put in your 4-digit PIN, you're going to put checking account, cuenta de cheques. And then it says, hey, what do you want to do? Check the balance or withdraw money? Say, I want to withdraw money, cash withdrawal. Right here, you're going to put in the amount of pesos. I want 15,000 pesos in this example. Then it says, hey, do you want to insure it? No, you never want that. Say no. It's got to think about it. It says, hey, we're going to charge you extra, but you don't care because you use a smart debit card like I just taught you. It's going to think about it. So right here, this is the screen you got to remember. Always decline this conversion. They will screw you. As you saw in my example with this exact amount of money, it was $125 more if I accepted their conversion. So you always want to decline the conversion. Going to think about it. There you go. So it just charged my bank 15,100 pesos. My bank is going to refund me that extra card fee, and then it's going to give me a way better rate than if I had allowed this ATM owner to charge me in dollars instead of in pesos. So always decline that conversion. Take your money, you're good to go. So I hope this gives you a little more confidence in using an ATM in Mexico. We'll see you in the next video.